Fellow Vincentians, today, July the 30th, Saint Vincent Grenadines joins the global community in commemorating United Nations World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. In 2013, the United Nations General Assembly designated July the 30th as World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. Among other things, the resolution of the General Assembly stated that it is to raise awareness of the situation of victims of human trafficking and for the promotion and protection of their rights. The global activities to celebrate this very important day are being held under the theme, Committed to the Cause, Working on the Front Line to End Human Trafficking. Very appropriately, this year's theme seeks to recognize first responders, those who are on the front line to end human trafficking. So today we pause to celebrate the work of law enforcement officials, health personnel, counselors, officials in the law courts, non-governmental organizations which provide care and safe havens for victims, other local, regional, and international partners who have sacrificed their time and energy, committed in one accord to end this illegal, inhumane, and modern form of slavery and servitude. The query frequently comes up: what is human trafficking? What is trafficking in persons? Article 3, paragraph A of the Protocol to Prevent, Suppress, and Punish Trafficking in Persons, also known as the Palermo Protocol, defines trafficking in persons as, quote, the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of persons by means of the threat or use of force or other forms of coercion, of abduction, of fraud, of deception, of the abuse of power, or of a position of vulnerability, or of the giving or receiving of payments or benefits to achieve the consent of a person having control over another person for the purpose of exploitation. Exploitation shall include at a minimum the exploitation of the prostitution of others and other forms of sexual exploitation, forced labor or services, slavery or practices similar to slavery, servitude, or the removal of organs, unquote. The definition is complex and wide-ranging, but in layman's terms, human trafficking is a crime where unsuspecting and vulnerable victims are recruited by human traffickers and are lured through various means, including promises of exorbitant salaries, to places where they are controlled and exploited against their will. Human trafficking is a criminal network and business which yields enormous profits. According to the United States State Department, this crime is as profitable as trafficking in arms and ammunition, and is the second most profitable criminal network to that of drug trafficking. Indeed, independent researchers so confirm. Their annual earnings from this trade of approximately $32 billion US. The U.S. State Department further estimates that between 600,000 and 1 million persons are trafficked globally on an annual basis. What makes the situation more untenable is that women and children account for 71% of all trafficked victims. The global community has agreed upon a number of factors that causes human trafficking. Some of these include: 1. The need for inexpensive labor, services, and products. Inequalities such as poverty, lack of employment opportunities, lack of educational opportunities, social and political conflicts, intolerance, and discrimination. In addition to these consequences, the consequences are grave. They're very serious. They include victims of human trafficking experience severe trauma and dehumanizing practices, repeated verbal, physical, psychological, and mental abuse, and persons who are trafficked are stigmatized by the community at large and face possible rejection by family and friends. What has been the role of Saint Vincent and the Grenadines in combating human trafficking? Our country has been a global partner in the fight to combat and eliminate human trafficking locally, regionally, and internationally. Since 2010, our government has implemented several policies geared towards tackling this phenomenon. It is to be noted that Saint Vincent and the Grenadines fully subscribes to Target 8.7 of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that aim to end human trafficking. Target 8.7 enjoins all states, quote, to take immediate and effective measures to eradicate forced labor, end modern slavery and human trafficking, and secure the prohibition and elimination of the worst forms of child labor, including recruitment and the use of child soldiers, and by 2025, end child labor in all its forms, unquote. On 29th of October 2010, Saint Vincent and the Grenadines ratified the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime and the protocols thereto, which are as follows. A. The protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially women and children. The protocol against the smuggling of migrants by land, sea, and air. The protocol against the illicit manufacturing of and trafficking in firearms, their parts and components, and ammunition. In order to assist in the ratification of these international instruments and protocols, the government in Saint Vincent and the Grenadines has taken the following and other concrete steps towards realizing this target. 1. The enactment of the Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act number 27 of 2011. This model law, among other things, criminalizes human trafficking. 2. The creation of an institutional framework, such as the National Task Force Against Human Trafficking, of which I am the chair, and the Interministerial Working Group Against Human Trafficking. 3. The establishment of the Anti-trafficking in Persons Unit, a specialized unit in the Saint Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force to combat human trafficking, headquarters at the Kittels Police Station. 4. The signing of a memorandum of understanding between 9 stakeholders to combat human trafficking. 5. The formulation of a national action plan to combat human trafficking. This plan is the overarching mechanism that is utilized to treat with human trafficking. This plan goes up to 2020, and of course, the plan would be renewed and refreshed. I should point out that as under this 5th formulation of the National Action Plan, which I'm identifying here, as part of the activities in recognition of UN World Day Against Trafficking in Persons 2020, the Anti-trafficking in Persons Unit convened a two-day symposium on July 28 to 29 with stakeholders in the public sector, the private sector, and the non-governmental organizations. And basically that was to review the National Action Plan, which expires this year. And that's why I said it has to be refreshed. And the Memorandum of Understanding to combat trafficking, human trafficking. Jason Haynes, whom we all know, Dr. Jason Haynes, a young Vincentian professional, he's assisting in this particular process, this review process. And as we know, he has written a book on human trafficking called Caribbean Anti-Trafficking Law and Practice. He's doing a great job. Continuing with work which we have done. 6th, continuous training in human trafficking related matters to all critical stakeholders, including law enforcement, public officials, the private sector, and the NGOs. 7, mass sensitization and awareness raising campaigns to alert the general public about human trafficking. about 20,000 students, primary, secondary, and tertiary, and the teachers, since 2012, have been involved in these awareness-raising campaigns. 8. The investigation of a number of potential human trafficking cases and would-be human traffickers. 9. Providing protection, assistance, and care to potential victims of human trafficking. 10. Regional and international cooperation with stakeholders in this mammoth battle to investigate, arrest, and prosecute these human traffickers. 11. Placement of 30-second ads, 2 large standing banners, and 24 human trafficking stickers at the international arrivals, departure, and domestic travel at the various points at the Argyle International Airport to raise awareness. As chair of the National Task Force Against Human Trafficking, I note that Saint Vincent and Grenadines has maintained its Tier 2 ranking in the 2020 United States Department of State Annual Trafficking in Persons Report. We have maintained this status for the past 4 consecutive years. We have some critique about the nature in which this assessment is done by the United States Department of State, but we use it nevertheless as a rough benchmark as to how we are proceeding. I note too our country's introduction of human trafficking in the curriculum at the police training school, and this has been hailed as a best practice by the African, Caribbean, Pacific, European Union Migration Action Seminar on Trafficking in Human Beings, Women and Children, based in Brussels. As we move forward in this great cause to end modern-day slavery, I encourage you to join us, all of us, in doing so. If you see or hear something touching and concerning human trafficking, say something. That is to say, report it to the authorities. This is but one of the ways which you can play your part to end human trafficking. You can contact the Anti-Human Trafficking in Persons Unit at telephone numbers 784-456-1750 or 457-1211, or by email at svgantitraffickingunit@gmail.com, or on Facebook at Anti-Trafficking in Persons Unit, RSVGPF. Or you can meet any member of the task force or the unit at anywhere at all and talk to them. There's a very popular man who heads the unit. He's doing a tremendous job, ASP Simmons. You'll meet him anywhere. You can approach him, you can talk to him, or you can go and visit him at the Kittels police station or call him. I want to thank him for the tremendous work he has been doing in providing leadership in this regard. And thank you very much.
I just want to first of all thank the Honourable Prime Minister for gracing us with his presence. This is indicative of the serious nature in which Saint Vincent and Grenadines look at human trafficking. Human trafficking is a serious crime. It is very much attractive to criminals. It's even more attractive, in my opinion, than drug trafficking. Why? Because the persons who are trafficked, they have multi-use. In the case of drugs, you consume the drugs and it's gone. But the persons, they are used on several occasions for sexual exploitation or manual labor or other forms of exploitation. So this is a very serious crime, and it is given that treatment or given that attention by the Royal Saint Vincent and Grenadines Police Force. Just want to thank the government of Saint Vincent and Grenadines for allowing us and for giving their full endorsement to the initiative of the Royal Saint Vincent and Grenadines Police Force in helping to rid Saint Vincent and Grenadines of the scourge of human trafficking. We are doing a good job so far, It's always a work in progress, and we continue to work hard to make sure Saint Vincent and the Grenadines is safe, not only as regard human trafficking, but as regard other offences.
Thank you very much, Commissioner John. And at this time, we are going to unveil the official logo of the Anti-Trafficking Persons Unit, and I wish to invite the Commissioner and the Prime Minister to do so. So there you can see the official logo of the Anti-Trafficking Persons Unit. And I just want to give some context into the design. First of all, the design was done by Sean Roach, a police constable who's currently pursuing studies in Taiwan, our Prime Minister. He's a very good police officer. And the globe represents countries, communities, activities, and travel, because human trafficking is a migratory offense. And this design have four interrelated themes. You have protection, there's also diversity, there are communities, and the other one is security. The blue in the background, that represents the universal color for human trafficking. And the humanoid figures that you see there represents the diversity, the races that human trafficking affects. And importantly, you can see those humanoid figures forming a crown on the crest. That depicts the protection that the Royal Saint Vincent Police Force offers to victims of human trafficking. So it's a wonderful piece of work that was done by our very own Constable Roach, and we wish to thank him and recognize his efforts here this morning.
If I may just say, ASP Simmons, Commissioner, this young officer must be highly commended. It's a beautiful, artistic condition with great meaning and import. I want to thank him very much for his tremendous skill and his insight in bringing everything together.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. This has brought us to the end of the activities to celebrate, commemorate the United Nations World Day Against Human Trafficking. And as the Prime Minister rightly said, if you see something, say something. We need the entire country on board in this fight.